Plus 49.
Hola y bienvenidos to Plus 49. I am your host, Sigrid Arteaga, and we're here to guide you through life as an expat in this vibrant, buzzing country we can call our home. Coming up, we're sitting down with Igor, the founder of Handpicked Berlin, a project that brings you closer to the city's most unique and authentic experiences. He's got some great tips and stories to share, so stay tuned for that. It is time for this week's highlights, a quick roundup for the latest news and updates affecting life here in Germany. First up, let's talk numbers, big numbers. According to a new study, bureaucracy is costing Germany up to a staggering 146 billion euros per year in lost economic output. That's around $153 billion. The culprit? Lengthy approval processes for new businesses and Germany's notoriously slowed down adoption of digital solutions. Executives have long voiced frustration over the red tape in Europe's largest economy, which has struggled to keep pace with its Eurozone neighbors since 2016. Streamlining these processes could unlock massive economic potential, but until that happens, it's an issue worth watching. Now, shifting to a more personal number, Germany's birth rate has hit a new record low. The average stands at just 1.35 children per woman, down from 1.5 in 2021. The decline is even steeper in Eastern Germany than it's in the Western states. According to the Federal Statistic Office, only 392,000 children were born between January and July this year, a 3% drop compared to the same period last year. To put this in perspective, in 2021, there were around 800,000 births. That means by 2023, more than 1 in 8 newborn beds was empty compared to just 2 years earlier. This figure signals a continued downward trend, raising questions about the future of Germany's workforce and social system. And now for a cooler update, literally. It's been chilly in Germany lately, and forecasters say we might see the first real taste of winter next week. Cold air from Scandinavia is expected to sweep across the country, potentially bringing snow and strong winds. Meteorologist Dominic Young from weather.net believes that this time winter might finally make its presence felt. So, if you haven't already done it, now it's the perfect time to dig out your winter jacket, hat, and gloves. Let's see if this prediction holds or if we'll be waiting a little longer for snowflakes. Germany is a country with a rather complicated history, fully of many tragedies and lessons learned. While on the one hand striving to move forward, the Germans also recognize the importance of remembering their past to prevent similar atrocities from occurring in the future. One significant reminder of this commitment is the Volkstrauer, or National Day of Mourning, which serves as a commemoration day for the victims of war and tyranny. You can compare this to the Remembrance Day observed in Commonwealth countries and Memorial Day in the United States. The Volkstrauertag falls every year on the second Sunday before Advent, providing a solemn moment for reflection and remembrance. Only 1 week later follows the Totensonntag, or Sunday of the Dead. The Church also refers to this day as Ewigkeitssonntag, emphasizing the belief in resurrection and eternal life. The origins of Totensonntag can be traced back to the Reformation, when Martin Luther emphasized the importance of remembering the deceased. Today, many churches hold special services on Ewigkeitssonntag, where they read aloud the names of the people who died in the past year. It is common for congregants to visit cemeteries on this day to decorate graves with flowers of wreaths as a sign of respect and remembrance. Totensonntag shares similarities with the Catholic holidays All Saints' Day, which is celebrated annually on November 1st. Both days serves as an opportunity for reflection on mortality and honoring those who have departed. However, it is important to note that despite the significance in Germany, Totensonntag is not technically a public holiday. Nevertheless, special regulations apply on Ewigkeitssonntag. Laws across various federal states dictate that no public event may take place on this silent holiday, so as not to undermine the seriousness character of this day. You might have noticed that German Christmas markets do not typically begin until the week of Advent, and if they do start earlier, they are often closed on Totensonntag out of respect for its significance. In addition to personal reflections and church services offered on Totensonntag, many communities also organize memorial events or gatherings where people can share stories about their loved ones who have died. We have a very special guest today with us. His name is Igor, and not even gonna dare try to say his last name because that is a little bit complicated for me to say. He comes from Slovenia, and he has been in Berlin, in Germany, the last 12 years. Igor, welcome to Expat Berlin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are the founder of Handpicked Berlin. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so very open question, but yeah, it is a newsletter that I'm sending now on emails basically since May 2022, and the story is very simple. After I returned to Berlin from Stuttgart, I had some ideas beforehand. I want to do some startup. I know I was a typical corporate guy that wants to go into startup world, and then that idea obviously didn't work. So I said, okay, now I have my job back. But what can I do on top? What is it that I can do myself with no developers, with no technical knowledge? Because at that time there was no ChatGPT yet. And then I decided I can do a newsletter. So that's how it started. And it started with simply me selecting jobs. And then I was sending it. I began with 21 subscribers. And then I said to myself, I will do this 10 times and then see what happens. And after 10 time, I had 205 subscribers. So I said, okay, if there's been such growth, there must be something interesting in it. And yeah, since then I'm continuing doing it. And now we are in close to 9,500. So it grew really well. And yeah, that's why it's basically my very, very important hobby now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Almost 10,000, that is a lot. And you do make a very nice summary of everything around Berlin. What are the main topics that we can see in the newsletter for those who have never seen Handpicked Berlin?
Yeah, so basically you're right. It started Handpicked Berlin, which obviously mostly related to Berlin. So we have tech, startups, business related news. That's a really big part. And also what's going on in city life. And then I also do a special selection of jobs in each issue because it's a weekly. And then I also do all the news about which startups in Germany got funded. So that's not just Berlin, but also outside. And then I also have a community section where people can see which are the events when some people are looking for co-founders or they have a nice project, they can put it in. And so it's basically a community with news. And I do curate this each week, basically reading thousands of headlines and then making a selection and sending it out. Yeah. And on top of this, now I also have a website. I also do some other content like salary trend survey or other small projects. But the main thing is obviously it is the newsletter.
Have some questions about how have you seen the progress from arriving in Berlin in 2012 and today, almost 12 years later? How has the evolution of the expats or internationals in Berlin changed?
Yeah, so here I need to say I was in between for a bit too long time in Stuttgart, right? So I had a very good job in Stuttgart in the automotive sector. And I mean, I can talk about Berlin in 2012 and now, right? Basically 10 years later when I returned. And I remember when I came back, I thought the first day and Tempelhof, I thought, wow, why did I stay so long in Stuttgart? Yeah. So, I mean, what I've seen, obviously, 10 years, I've been only maybe 2 times in this period, is I've seen a lot of change in prices, right? Like, obviously, I myself, as coming back, I had the same problem as everyone with an apartment. That's a very big thing, and I think at that time it wasn't that hard when I was a student here. And obviously, prices in Berlin really developed. Like also infrastructure wise, there's been like so many new buildings that I didn't even see before. I didn't even go to my previous area at Tier Park in the east where I was studying. But yeah, I mean, I didn't. Main difference that I've seen was just this. I came back as an employee, right? So I had completely different problems than as a student, where basically, as a student, you just enjoy it. But I really seen how much Berlin offers, right? Berlin is for me the best city in Germany, regardless of these downsides. And then when you have some money, when you have a job, you can enjoy it so much more. Yeah? So I think Berlin is basically the perfect place in Germany for anyone that's curious, interested, wants to explore things. I mean, fair enough, in the winter you're going to have a bad time. But for me personally, I don't find it that bad because you can also always go to some gallery. There's so many things to do, even in the winter, right? But of course, imagine if Berlin would have the same climate as some other, I don't know, some southern cities, then it would be just even more overcrowded. So I think this winter is basically balancing it out a bit so that it's not too many people coming here.
I keep saying that definitely winter is the price we have to pay to live Berlin in the summer because I mean Mexico City is 25 million people and I more or less think it's because we have a very great weather. So I would not even dare to think what it would be and if Berlin was 25 degrees all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for sure you would have some poisonous snakes, which we don't have now.
Yes. For the moment being, yes. Let's have a music break. And when we get back, Igor, let's think about your most favorite stories about Berlin. We're the podcast of Plus 49 with Igor from Handpicked Berlin. We have been talking a little bit about the newsletter, his time here in Berlin. And of course, one of my favorite questions, I'm going to say that, is what do you think that the expat community is looking in Germany or in Berlin specifically?
I think foremost connections and friends, right? If you check, I mean, when you move here, I mean, this could be like if it's a family, then maybe they look for other couples or whomever to hang out. If it's single people, then they will try to find maybe partners or friends. Because if you check anything, the main problem is how do I find friends and how do I find activities to do, right? So I think everyone just wants this connection to build it up again, especially as an expat. When you come and you don't know anyone and it's foreign language, then it's always good to have, I mean, I think on Facebook, at least in the old times, you could find any nationality in Berlin community, or basically any, yeah, everyone is just coming together and trying to, yeah, ask questions and have some support, and that's also very logical, I think.
Under your consideration, the last couple of years regarding dating and finding other communities, is Berlin a friendly place or is it a place to find dates?
Yeah, I think it's I can compare it obviously with Stuttgart really well, right? So I think it's even more international, even easier. And of course, you will have in Berlin what you will have. You will always have these commitment issues from people, right? But this doesn't mean just in relationships, also in friendships, right? Because you have so many friends, you have so many. There's so much going on in every area of Berlin. So, for example, you're gonna say I have a birthday party, and you will invite, I don't know, 20 people, and out of these 25 will say, "Oh, I have another birthday party." So there's so much going on in the city that it's very easy to have, I mean, commitment problems. Yeah, and this is also true for dating. But of course, then some people, they just use this as an excuse because they are a bit more afraid to commit to anything. Yeah, so I think, but I think it's no different than any really big city.
Yeah, maybe it is not, but there was this Deutsche Welle article that said that Berlin is the city of singles.
Yeah, that's true. I also had it once in my newsletter. The percentage of singles was very high. Yeah, that's true. But I don't have a comparison to New York or Paris or Madrid, so I don't know. But yeah, it's true that I forgot the percentage, but it is quite high. Yeah, single people.
When you first arrived to Berlin, do you still remember what was your first big cultural shock?
Yes, absolutely. I was coming as a student, and there was this small student bar in the Studentenwerk, Wohnheim, and I was there like alone. I was at the bar, and then we were drinking beers, and beer was really cheap because it was almost like Späti prices in a bar. And then at some point, I said that I want to buy a round, like for some people standing there. So I just ordered beers, and they were all asking me why. For me, this was really strange because in the Balkans, so in Slovenia, it's very common that you just invite people for a drink. So this concept of getrennt was very very new to me, and that I still remember. I will never forget how they looked at me and said, why are you buying now beers?" Yeah, so that was definitely the biggest culture
Is
shock.
it still there something there that you can still do not somehow overcome, that even though if you already know that it's going to be like that, you're still always finding kind of hard to move forward or to move around it?
I think this would be these bureaucratic topics, which are, I mean, they are improving, but it is this really this big obsession with the process, right? Like you need to do this, then you need to do this. For example, when I was opening a small company, Gewerbe, it took me so long. It was crazy how long it took me, and I only could pass certain step in the process because I actively reached out. They didn't reach out and said, "Okay, here, listen, here's a problem." So you always need to be managing these processes really closely, which is, I mean, yeah, okay, but of course there's something that I think it needs to change.
Hopefully, that will start changing or keep changing. At least in Berlin, we are getting a little bit faster. Let's see how that turns out in the next political period, whenever it comes. How many hours do you actually use in order to do a newsletter?
5 to 6 a week. So I mean, once you do something over 100 times, you become very good in it. And now I've become very good in it. And like basically, it's training, like a skill, right? You can then just do it faster and faster. But I think it's impossible to do it in 20 minutes, right? This is never going to happen. So I'm
How
going
do
to
you
stay
pick your sources?
just with experience. Like I have certain methods, and I really like to read, right? So when I read, I then always think, okay, could this be interesting or that or not? And then I save the stuff that is interesting, and sometimes I pull it in or not. So it's a very interesting process, and I enjoy this process of collecting information and then presenting it. So it is sort of a, yeah, it's also a hobby, reading and then, yeah, collecting it and then presenting it in a specific way. That's what I really enjoy.
In our last segment with Igor from Handpicked Berlin, and dear Igor, tell us about your favorite story about those who are reading Handpicked Berlin.
Yeah, I think besides this, that sometimes when I'm walking on the street and some dude, like, this typical tech guy with a backpack, just looks at me and I'm thinking, okay, does he know that's me? So that happens sometimes. But besides this, I made so many friends just because I'm doing this newsletter, right? So when you're doing something like this, when you're active in a community, then you start to meet people. And basically, this is also my advice to everyone. Like if you start something, get active in somewhere, you will make amazing friends. So we just had a big party this summer, right? It's great to see that we can now bring like 100 to 200 people together just because of this project. And I also made some really really good friends which also have newsletters, and we now basically one of my best friends here in Berlin. And this is just because of me basically showing up each Monday morning. And then once you show up significant amount of times, then also people recognize it, and it is very easy then to be part of something. Yeah, and especially as an expat where you don't have this base, right? When you I moved here back, like, and we need to make everything from scratch. This was a great vehicle to do that.
Community, it is very important. And we have had a couple of people saying that it is very complicated to make community in Germany and especially have German friends. Do you have German friends?
Yeah, actually, I have. Yeah, but of course, it's also very logical. I always say to people, if when you lived in wherever you lived, right, and then you also didn't go out on Friday and say, "Oh, let me make some new friends," right? You had your friends. So I think it's very logical that people who grew up here, they have their circles, right? And we, the fresh people who come, we need to build these circles. So I think like it is possible. It's not, Germans are probably not the easiest in the world, right? But it's also not so bad. And also to me, it's very logical. But yeah, I have some German friends, but of course, majority of my friends are also immigrants slash expats or whatever we want to call ourselves.
How can we find you? How can we subscribe to Handpicked Berlin? What is the easiest route? And I do believe that I saw in LinkedIn that you have now a new logo or a new design.
Yeah, I mean, you can just, if you Google Handpicked Berlin, you will find my newsletter, my website, my Instagram, and also my LinkedIn profile. So basically, you just Google Handpicked Berlin and then you find me.
Then we invite everybody to go to Handpick Berlin. And in case anybody has a suggestion for Igor, they can also send you an email with more information about their event or their cultural favorite place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always very happy to support cool projects. So you have a really, really nice audience that you can place your things to.
Igor, thank you so much for being today with us. And we hope to have you here with us soon.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Plus 49. Ask a German.
Hi, I'm Eva. Dear Germans, why is it that when it's your birthday, you cannot say congratulations before the day? In other cultures, you can celebrate anticipated, but it feels like it's the worst thing to do here.
I understand the confusion. In most parts of the world, sending early birthday wishes is seen as a thoughtful gesture, a way of showing you care. But in Germany, it's a bit more complicated. Imagine this. You're pumped to greet your friend with a hearty Alles Gute zum Geburtstag before their big day arrives. But here, it is actually considered bad luck to wish somebody happy birthday before their actual birthday. So you should definitely avoid that. This belief, like many others, stems from traditional customs and superstitions, suggesting that celebrating or acknowledging a birthday early can invite misfortune or even jinx the person's good fortune for the coming year. Germans believe that prematurely congratulating someone on their birthday brings bad luck. It's like you're tempting fate to spoil the celebration before it even starts. So they take a cautious approach and wait until the clock officially strikes midnight on the birthday person's actual day of birth. In German culture, there are various similar superstitions. For instance, if you have ever had a drink with a German, you might know what I'm going for right now. When clinking glasses during a toast, Germans emphasize making intense eye contact with one another. The belief is that failing to look someone in the eye while toasting can lead to 7 years of bad luck. These customs also reflect an underlying cultural tendency to be mindful of actions and their following implications. Additionally, many Germans adhere to the idea of keeping celebrations within the designated time frame. Celebrating in advance may be seen as disrespectful or as undermining the significance of the actual birthday. The focus is on making the day special and meaningful, which includes waiting until the official date to extend well wishes or hold celebrations. So next time you're in Germany and have a birthday buddy, remember, patience is indeed a virtue and timing is everything. When their special day finally arrives, you can celebrate cheerfully. Just don't forget to look them in the eye when clinking glasses.
And just like that, we're at the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope that you can tune in next week with us. A special shout out to all of you who have sent in questions for Ask It German. Keep them coming. We love hearing from you. We will be back with more stories, insights, and of course, the best music to keep you company. Until then, follow us on our Instagram at @plus49 or visit our website www.plus49.de. Thank you so much for listening.